Hi guys, this week the British Veterinary Association has raised concerns about how a lack of medical professionals is impacting animal welfare. Now this is compounded by the new levels of paperwork that have to be completed as part of the post-Brexit regime. Vets are being flooded with requests to complete veterinary health certificates for export to the single market, and this is taking up time that they would normally spend treating people's pets. The pandemic, according to a BBC report, saw a massive increase in the number of people welcoming pets into their homes, and this has resulted in higher demand for veterinary care. Now, pandemic aside, Mr. Brexit himself, Nigel Farage, of course knew this when he sold people the idea of leaving the EU, right?
As it currently stands, for example, for trade, for produce, for animal-related products, the minute we leave the EU, we are going to have a 300% shortfall in vets. And this is not me scaremongering, it's a fact. And I think that both sides need to be a bit more respectful and a bit more factual.
Well, I knew we weren't. I knew, Daniela, we weren't producing enough nurses and doctors. I had no idea we weren't producing enough vets.
No, but that's the point. That's what I mean. If that had been shouted from the rooftops, then you may have accused us of scaremongering, whereas I'm respectfully telling you that Daniela, there is a problem.
If I'm a buyer, right? If I want to buy someone's services and I pay money for it, if I want to buy someone's product and I pay money for it, I can do that regardless whether we're members of the European Union or not.
Oh my goodness. There we have it. He doesn't understand the European Union. He doesn't understand the single market. And this is the guy who went to farmers and told them, don't worry, we leave the European Union, everything will be fine. Don't worry about it. Anyone who says anything different is scaremongering. He went to fishermen, to the fishing communities, told them, vote to leave, everything will be wonderful. Anyone who says different is scaremongering. And he doesn't understand the European Union. He doesn't understand the single market. How can someone who told people, vote for this project, vote to leave the European Union, and then turn around and say, look, you know, if somebody wants to buy a service or buy a product, it doesn't matter if you're in the EU or not. What levels of ignorance this guy had. Maybe he's educated himself since then. But it's a bit too late now, isn't it, Nigel? You didn't know, and also when it came to vets, he didn't know that there was a shortage of vets, but he still went to farmers and said, vote to leave. What an absolute charlatan. And now, instead of actually apologising for his mistakes, for his lack of understanding, he's now an MP. He's leading a party in the House of Commons. He wants to be Prime Minister, it seems. And a lot of people who voted for this guy in 2019 and 2024, who voted for his lie in 2016, want him to be Prime Minister. He's made people worse off. This is not an opinion, this is a fact. But it gets worse.
So the problem you have with that argument is that say we're organising a trade deal, I don't know, with some Asian country, and that Asian country stipulates that before an animal product leaves this country, it needs veterinary certification. Okay. There's not much we can do about that. And as it currently stands, we don't have enough vets to certify for export. But that's not primarily why I rang in. I rang in to point out that this is not scaremongering. It's probably the wrong language being used, but it is true.
And he's dumbfounded. How does he respond to that? You have an expert who's explaining to you, if we leave the European Union, but she was talking about another trade deal, but it still applies to the European Union, you're going to have health certificates. Somebody's going to have to fill out those health certificates, and it's probably going to be vets. And there's a shortage of vets. So what's your solution to that, Nigel? He doesn't have a solution. He doesn't care. His project was just, let's convince people to vote to leave the European Union and to hell with the consequences, because I will not suffer those consequences. I will not be the one who'll be struggling. It's so frustrating. But the most frustrating part of all of this is that this guy didn't go away. He didn't run away with his tail between his legs. He didn't apologise. He didn't admit that he was wrong. No, he's now on Question Time almost every frigging week. He's interviewed constantly. He has his own show on GB News. It's beyond ridiculous. Somebody who has been proven wrong on pretty much every occasion is promoted. And there are people, the people he lied to, Look at the farming protest recently, welcomed like some sort of conquering hero, photographed in people's tractors. This is the guy who didn't know that there wasn't enough vets. This is the guy who dismissed the idea that you'd need to fill out health certificates. Didn't understand the impact on Britain leaving the European Union. I don't know what else to say about this. I want to say thanks to Jay for posting this clip, and I'll leave a link to the report from the BBC in the description.